Hello, friends. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the 8 limbs of yoga study. Today, we are focusing on the 5th limb of yoga, Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. Hi, my name is Michelle Fondin. I'm the author of 12 published books, including the latest and greatest, The 8 Limbs of Yoga for Modern Times, a practical guide to the Yoga Sutras of Patañjali. If you want to read this and learn more, you can get it on Amazon or Ingram Spark. The links are all below. If you're new to my channel, I want to welcome you here. Thank you so much for subscribing. Click on the bell so you never miss a video. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up and put thank you in the comments section. I teach meditation online on demand. You can click on the link and start it on demand below. The 5th limb of yoga, Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. What I'm super impressed with the progression of the 8 limbs of yoga is that by the time we get to the 5th limb of yoga, which is Pratyahara, we have adequately prepared for this moment. So in the yamas and niyamas, we worked on our character through ethical and moral boundaries as well as personal observances. Then we worked on the physical body through yoga asana in the 3rd limb of yoga, and then through breath control, which equals mind control. And if you haven't yet viewed that video, please view it at the link right here after this video. All of the 8 limbs of yoga help to prepare you, the yogi, for silence and meditation. And withdrawal of the senses is no different than any of the previous limbs of yoga. The goal is the same. The only thing with Pratyahara is that this is the final step before we get into the meditative limbs of yoga, limbs 6 through 8. First, I'm going to read to you the Yoga Sutras pertaining to Pratyahara. When the senses are withdrawn, the nature of the mind is calm. Then follows supreme mastery over the senses. Yoga Sutras, chapter 2, verses 54 and 55. Today, I had a very humbling experience regarding Pratyahara, and I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. I even have a show and tell. I even have a visual, a show and tell. But first, let's explore what this means, withdrawal of the senses. The word Pratyahara is a Sanskrit word that comes from 2 root words, prati, meaning to withdraw or to wean from, and ahara, meaning food. So pratyahara literally means to wean away from food or to withdraw from food. In other words, it is what gives us sustenance, and any impressions we receive through the 5 senses is our nourishment, our sustenance in this life, whether it's seeing, hearing, touch, taste, or smell. Now, the yogi, in preparation for meditation, must learn to withdraw the senses or turn the senses inward. Turning the senses inward is to focus on the inner world rather than the outer world. Now, this is really difficult to do. Why is it so difficult? Because in today's world, in modern societies, we are on sensory overload. If you don't believe this to be true, look at all the children out there with parents that give them Beats headphones to ignore the outside world. Now, many of them are probably on the autistic spectrum, and that's why they're giving them Beats headphones to focus inward and to not listen to all the noise. But in reality, you do not have to be on the spectrum to be overwhelmed with all of the sights, the visuals, the noises. The world is very noisy, and all the distractions constantly drawing us outside of ourselves. It is completely everywhere, more than ever, and it's not tranquil. You might be thinking, okay, in ancient times, there were still noises, there were still visuals, yes, but those visuals and those noises were generally nature sounds. They were not man-made sounds. And so they weren't necessarily distracting you from focus, distracting you from peacefulness and calm. In today's day and age, in the modern day, there's so many things distracting you from your inner peace. If you think about it, our devices, right, are omnipresent. They're always with us. They're always pinging or dinging or buzzing or vibrating. And it's not only our personal devices that are doing this, but it's the personal devices of the people around us doing this. And if you haven't noticed, if you're in a public place, generally somebody is talking on speakerphone. Somebody's talking on FaceTime or shouting into a phone, even in a public restroom. Yes, it is horrifying to think that you're sitting there going to the bathroom and somebody in the stall next to you is talking on speakerphone. You thought you had some privacy in the bathroom at least. And then there are the visuals. Images come to us in so many forms. And yes, it is an asset that we have so many visuals coming to us, meaning we can learn very quickly through many videos, through little snippets of information. However, there's also a lot of disturbing images that come to us. There's a lot of advertising that's unwanted that automatically comes to us in our visuals, and auto mind programming of things that we do not want to see. For example, all the drug ads that come to you, and you don't want to see that. You don't want to have self-fulfilling prophecies of disease because it's just constantly being fed into your mind. And then there's this sense of taste and how even the food companies have figured out ways to cater to our sense of taste and to feed us unhealthy foods because they really activate that primal sense of needing the high sugar, high fatty foods that our body really doesn't need, but they have catered it to our primal sense of, yes, we need this. We need the big calories to be able to survive. And so when you think about our modern world and withdrawal of the senses, it's really difficult because we're being fed so much in sensory input. And so it takes a very strong yogic mind to be able to mindfully withdraw the senses inward, to have that discipline and have the choice. Because honestly, that is what gives you the choices. The choices to have a tranquil and serene inner space. Sometimes it can feel in the modern world that we just don't have the choice. But when you mindfully make the choice, you can then forget about the senses and you can then forget about the body, which is so important as you enter into meditation. So I made a promise that I was going to give you my real world example today. Today, as I was on my run, yes, I'm a runner and I'm a distance runner, and I am preparing for a 10-miler in about 4 weeks. And I'm also preparing for a half marathon a few months down the road. Now, as I've expanded my running and my running has gone on longer, I need more liquid for my run. And I also need some gel packs to keep the energy going. This morning, I was slotted to run a 10K on my own, not in competition, but in competition with myself. And so my goal was to run a faster 10K in this training run. Now, for the nutrition that I need for this run, I have a couple of things. I have this belt. This is called a running belt with slots for my water bottles, and another slot However, it's not really useful for my phone because this sits on my back. So I have another belt for my phone that's going to sit in front. Now, I know this is not the ideal way to do things, and I've actually ordered one that's a little more integrated so I can have my phone in front, my nutrition in back, and it's a little balanced. However, now I have this system. So I've finagled this system to be able to run long distances, especially for my Sunday run, which is going to be 9 miles this coming Sunday. Now, the problem with having 2 belts is that you feel them, and I am very sensitive in my sense of touch. And so fabrics can have a tendency to bother me, or if it rubs the wrong way, or if I don't have the proper glide gel to put on my arms and inner thighs, then I get really annoyed if my skin is rubbing together. And so this has become quite problematic as I'm running faster and faster and for longer distances. Today, as I was doing my run, the belts were really bothering me. And so I found myself adjusting the belts and getting super annoyed and feeling every minor move of those belts around my waist and kind of digging into my skin and rubbing against my skin. And I was becoming thoroughly annoyed. And then I thought about recording this video on Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. The sense of touch is one of our senses. And I thought, this is silly. I can forget about the sense of touch, turn my focus inward on my goal, which my goal was to run faster. And I can focus on something else. I can focus on my pacing. I can focus on the palm trees. I can focus on my feet. I can focus on my hips. There are so many things I could focus on rather than focusing on the sense of touch. And so in my mindfulness to forget about my sense of touch, I was focusing on other things, notably my goals, and I was able to transcend that sense of touch, even though it was still bothering me. I just shifted away from that. So I turned my focus away from the sense of touch inward to go, what is my goal for today? How can I accomplish this goal? And so for me, it would be mindfully thinking, okay, 6 miles per hour, 6 miles per hour, 6 miles per hour. And that became my mantra. And in the end, guess what happened? I beat my time. I beat my 10K time, and it was incredible. But that only happened because I had to mindfully tell myself, forget about the sense of touch. Yes, these belts are annoying the crap out of you, but you need to ignore it. And you've done what you can. You've made do with the things that you could make do for this run, for this time around. But now you need to turn that sense inward and create focus. Now that takes us to the next limb of yoga, which we're not going to talk about yet in this video. We will talk about that next week. But that is just one example of how you can turn the senses inward to find that inner calm and peace. Now, what is beautiful and wonderful with sustained practice of Pratyahara is that things stop bothering you. And so those loud noises I was talking about, they stop bothering you. The visuals, now, of course, I always suggest, and in my book, I talk a lot about this. I always suggest that as a yogi, as an enlightened being, that you carefully select your visuals from the day to day. But that being said, you don't get triggered if you do see a visual that is disturbing or not a visual that you really care to see. In the same way, with the sense of hearing, if there's something that you really don't care to hear, especially when you're meditating or doing yoga or trying to focus on work, when you withdraw the senses, turn the senses inward and are very mindful about it, really accessing the inner peace of your inner world, the noises don't bother you anymore. And that is such a beautiful testimony to this disciplinary practice of the fifth limb of yoga. So I hope you find that. And again, with sustained practice, this can happen for you too. Whether it's in running, working, doing yoga, playing with your kids, or talking with your spouse, or having a good time with your friends, you can choose to interiorize your senses so that you are not overwhelmed, but you find the wellspring of inner peace. I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. If you enjoyed this video, please put something in the comments below. You could just say, thanks, Michelle, for the video. Thank you for supporting this YouTube channel. You can purchase one of my 12 published books. You could join me for my meditation class and share with others. I will see you in the next video.